Hello. It's so early. Thank you for coming. Hello. I am Irene Comalada, and I am working in GFI. GFI is the provider. GFI is the service that you contract and you expect not only to work, but also to do it quickly, well, and safely. No one of our clients wants to appear in the news, but neither does my boss. We live on our contracts. At this point, we have several focus. Who will hire us if the code is not right or if it's not safe? Who will contract us if we don't meet the time and the expectations? And who will hire us if our code has a security attack? We are not sure that is it possible to overcome this at the level of money, name, and marketing. This is why we focus in DevSecOps. There are several semantic options: DevSecOps, SecDevOps, SecOps. We believe that the correct order is DevSecOps, with some things that we talk about, based on the maturity of the organization. First, Dev, to be able to deliver prototypes to the clients as soon as possible. Second, Sec, you cannot deploy something that is not secure in any server. And finally, Ops, as many times as possible. But let's see it, step by step. Let's see a video of the first one that we watched in World News. This video is from 2013.
Someone has broken into the National Bank, the Federal Reserve, a 21st century thief breaking into files, not into metal safes. The mysterious group, Anonymous, has struck again with a warning. This is just the beginning. ABC's senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tells us who these people are.
This is the public face of Anonymous, the shadowy group behind the hacking attack on the Federal Reserve, which sets monetary policy for the U.S. economy.
This time there will be change, or there will be chaos.
Anonymous is a loosely affiliated network of hackers spread across the globe. During the hack of the Fed, Anonymous stole the login credentials of some 4,000 bankers from across the country, allowing the group to potentially disrupt a key emergency communication system.
Citizens of the world, we have seen the erosion of due process, the dilution of constitutional rights.
Greg House, a former member of Anonymous, says expect more attacks on the government.
All these big bankers and all these big rich people who have caused a lot of the problems we've had for the last few years are not getting prosecuted.
The FBI has had some success against suspected Anonymous associates, arresting at least 20, including one man during this bust caught on a webcam. But finding and arresting members of Anonymous is challenging. For the FBI, each targeted computer network is a crime scene.
Well, in any computer crime, you want to look for the digital footprints. So you look to trace the incoming traffic that's attacking the computer, and you look to see where the file was exported to.
And a big investigative tool, FBI agents posing as hackers and trying to infiltrate Anonymous itself. In addition, the Anonymous videos are also clues. The video may contain embedded location information if the hackers do not scrub it out. And the pictures may tell investigators something about the hackers too. An online game of cat and mouse is underway right now with an invisible enemy. Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
Do you remember this video or something like that? And when you see this kind of video, you think something like, okay, but they are not talking about me, no? That's a way larger company than mine. No one will ever worry about my insignificant business. I have only, I don't know, an online shop. Think about it. Do you want to appear in the news? Yes? For which reason do you want to appear in the news? Something like that? Is really important the security in your organization or in your mind? The security was a problem in the past. Is it possible that the security will be a problem in the future, in your organization, in your life? This is number of United States. The cybercrime will cost to USA $6 billion in 2021, and we expect that 1 6.5 million of jobs won't be covered the next year and 2021. Reading these numbers, everyone could think, is security important enough? I don't think so. It's the same thing that we are talking about last slide. Who will like to attack me if I am not rich, no? Let me show you another video, just a few minutes of it.
This latest Marriott hack involving the Starwood hotel chain ranks up there with the Equifax and the Yahoo hacks. And Marriott has the deep pockets to run cybersecurity programs. But if you're a small business, even just a mom and pop operation, a cyber attack can threaten everything that you have. It's taken 2 years for Liz Ross to come back from the cyber hack that nearly killed her startup business. What's it feel like to have somebody come in and try to take all of this from you?
It's very painful. It was the worst week of my life.
Just before Cyber Monday 2016, as her Southern Fried Chicks clothing business was exploding with internet orders, hackers suddenly crashed the company Facebook page, locked her out, and began posting offensive material.
A lot of pornography, even cartoon pornography, child pornography, very sexual content.
As Liz struggled to regain control of her Facebook page, her customers, mostly women who didn't know she'd been hacked, were outraged and offended.
We literally laid there and sat there crying and just responding to people for days and days and days. It felt like an eternity.
She was in a panic. I could barely understand her.
Liz called cybersecurity expert Teresa Payton.
She was looking at losing her reputation, losing her business, losing sales, thinking about her family, her employees.
It all started when an unsuspecting employee opened an email.
Okay. The first thing that we need to remember is a real attack is not made according to the size of the company. It's made according if it's easy to access or not. Anyway, the reality shows us that it's possible that we are not target of the best hackers aiming for the big companies, but even this might affect us and compromise our system. They hack companies like Facebook, where we have the online shops. They hack banks when we have our money. They hack Amazon, where we have stored our data, billing address, for example, or credit card, or our account like vendors. When they hack companies like Facebook, we need to remember that is where they store our personal data, including every message or every picture that you have ever seen. And think about it. If you were hackers, what would you choose? Try to access to Amazon and try to steal millions of euros just because you need to be a crack to access to Amazon twice? Or try and hack but little companies. Those are easy targets, have less resources to prevent it, and thug will never happen to them, like you. You always think that it won't happen to you until it happens to you. And an attack is not an attack in itself. If you have an online shop, for example, it's not only the time that you stopped selling during the attack, that it's important, it's true. But the cost of the opportunity for lost sales, as well, the cost of damage, and possible destruction of data, stolen money, based on the criticism of the attack, the client data that could have been lost or stolen, but above all of this is the reputation, which is harder to regain. If we are talking about large companies, it may have legal implications, the price of the action, for example. Also, in this slide, we can see the evolution of the attacks and what are they doing. In the world we live in, when everything is connected to the internet, everything can be hacked. And if you look back to the present space, it's the last red space, we can see banking malware, Bitcoin, phone hacking, everything. And if you see this slide, the numbers, the cyber attack segmentation, there are a lot of really worrying points. For example, identify and access management. Because think about it. For example, government. What data does the government has on me? The government knows all about me, everything, absolutely all. Knows my name, my address, my economical capacity, because they have record of my tax payments, and not only of me. It also knows if I have kids, where are they going to school, if I am married or divorced, everything. And at this point, I really hope that you have been really scared enough to say, okay, I need a change. The things need to start to change. It's necessary to be reactive, of course, and fix the disaster as soon as possible if we detect an attack. But it's really most necessary to improve global security. And yes, I am talking about global security. Move from reactive to proactive. We need to review the relationship between what is being developed and deployed with the required security. And in this point, we need build defense around real-world attack patterns. Real-world, it's really important, this word, real, as we deploy, as soon as possible. Historically, the defense has focused on the perimeter, deployed commodity security products that don't address real attack scenarios, and worked with vulnerabilities enumeration as penetration testing. Is not enough. These don't address modern attack behavior, only focus with the action or the consequences. You need to focus to the behavior in your users and in your apps. Every time we are able to deploy, it's a new opportunity to fix or improve the security. As always, like DevOps, but adding security. And what is DevSecOps? What represents? A new method that helps identify security issues early in the development. This is the special word. Privacy and security principles should be integral to any company's culture. And DevSecOps makes everyone responsible for the security. Think about, if we deploy as soon as possible, if we deliver value in each iteration, if our strategy is shift-left testing, why security is not a priority within our strategy? Only when each team member works for deployments, we are able to deploy correctly. Only if each team member is in charge of testing, we are able to test with quality. And now we can answer, what is DevSecOps? It's take this shift-left method as well as work in shift-left security. It's exactly the same, where each person is responsible for the security and security operations is doing as soon as possible. Because if we start from the base that the failure in production is expensive, imagine how expensive is an error security in production because you have also received an attack. And we want to get rise cost to attackers because they attack the cheaper option. We need to be more expensive than your neighbors. And increase the odds of the testing compromise diagnostic and iterate defense based on real attack patterns. Build your defense. An offensive mindset is the best way. You need to think in attack, not in defense, and adapt your life cycle to process to it. And improve. This is what we talk in DevOps. Improve every time. And we need to think that, like DevSecOps is not a silver bullet. It's a change in a mindset. It's a framework. It's a way of work. And in resume is a mindset and holistic approach, a collection of process and tools, a means of building security and compliance, a community-driven effort, and a strategy driven by learning and experiments, and try, and try, and try. And what is not a one-size-fits-all approach, a single tool or method, my favorite, just a means of adding security into continuous delivery, is not only continuous delivery, It's much more than this. I will talk later. Invented by vendors, a strategy driven by perfection and compliance. It's familiar, no? What is DevSecOps related to DevOps? This is the classic DevOps cycle we see a lot of times. Let's review where we should have security in DevSecOps. First of all, the first, plan. In this step, we need to plan the risk assessment. First of all, we need to know about our maturity. What is our level? And then we can plan where we want to arrive and how. Then build. At this point, we have the whole back. Build is one of the most important stages that we can see. Security coding, SAST, exploratory testing synergies, and we can be based in a standard, for example, in a WASP. And this is really important state. And then the continuous integration is not minor. This is the focus point in DevSecOps, not the unique, but yes, really important. And minimum we need nightly builds, checking rules, code review, SAST, DAST, scans, performance test, and much more. I will explain it later. And deploy. Deploy is the last defense. The code is live on production. It passes. And we can work with server scans and reviewing third-party extensions. And then operate. The focus point is monitoring. It's see what is happening. We can work with log analysis, application insight, server monitoring to prevent intrusions or detect, in the worst-case test scenario, the attacks. And finally, the continuous feedback. We can always to improve. What can we do better? I am talking about metric revisions, stakeholder feedback, identify team trainings, all these kind of things. Be better in our operations. And finally, this is the whole process, and we can see more detail. This is the classical approach, is like manual approach, and we can talk about DevSecOps or SecDevOps. It might sound like semantic, the order of the words, but this order of words carries all the weight. Today, we talk about DevSecOps, but this approach has the evident problem that you can see in the slide. We can see the traditional and really simplified approach. This approach leads to delay, release, and security vulnerabilities in just before production, at the last step. A security knowledge is typically small, limited to a few individuals in the organization. And these persons are often grouped into a centralized security team. The security team tests the product using their knowledge or their tools to find vulnerabilities in the release candidate just before deployment, like a QA team. When the team finds a vulnerability, they pass the bad news back to the development team. But because the development team doesn't have exactly the security trainings or the knowledge about how to use these tools, the security team is often seen like the bad guys because they are who stops the release because the release have some security vulnerabilities. It's exactly the same case as the QA team. And what is the typical reaction of the team? It's a bad reaction, of course. The team is angry because all the work is stopped at the end of the process, and only if they fix them, the code can be promoted to the next step, to the production environment. And don't understand the reason, because the work is finished. For them, see, yes. And what happens? Always the show must go on. And the product goes with known and unknown vulnerabilities, with possible some promise like, okay, fix them in the next release, we need to go to the production, it's time, run. And this is what you get when you put the security, all the security after the development is literally then Sec, then Ops. But it's a good point to start. It's a start. And we need to try to do better. This is trying to do it better. Seems the same, but now the security is baked in at the start of the development. The team will naturally become more proficient in security, and fewer vulnerabilities will be found at the end of the pipeline if they think in security before to start coding. The strategy about these vulnerabilities is what we talked in previous slides. Think in a tag way to get a better defense, but before the development. The code is thinking about the attack, not the defense. It's more easy to automate them for the team as well. This incremented and integrated approach works much better than trying to tack on a security audit at the end of the project. The security audit is important, but not will be the only one. And this is the DevOps approach. It's what we said before in previous slides. Semantics is not the problem. The point is the best approach, in any case, based on the maturity of the organization and the developers as well. And the next is a critical requirement is to integrate this security into existing development process. The development is working now, and we need to add this security to this. And this point is making security a part of a quality. We have a quality process, adding security in that. The workflows start with the security coding policy. It's before to start to work. The architect or the lead or any person with the knowledge creates a configuration, possibly based on coding guidelines like OWASP or something like that, for the rest of the team to leverage directly into their IDE. This gives the developer the ability to check the code locally on their machine before committing to source control to the Bitbucket or something like that. Catching and fixing security vulnerabilities when is cheaper and easy to do so at the beginning of the process. This is more cheaper than at the end. The safe configuration is that leverage by analysis executing as part of build process. This action provides a safety net to gate to delivery pipeline to ensure that insecure code does not get promoted to the later stage, never goes to production. And the developer doesn't think that the work is finished because they have errors in their IDE. It's like a quality gauge in QA. It's the same thing, it's the same process. And lastly, the results of the analysis are sent back to the developer's IDE or via reporting analytics tools or something like that. One tool where progress can be tracked, course correction made, and audit report generated, if this is possible, in real time. The order of words is not just important as the implications of the tools, techniques, and process that all the words implies in every step. The important is the final result, the result of code and the development and all these kind of things, the whole security process, as we can see. But there are a lot of work. But what offers DevSecOps to us? The three most important points are these: code reduction, threat hunting, and a speed of recovery. Code reduction, like the other disciplines like QA, for example, how sooner can I detect an error so it will be cheaper to solve it? This is the real code reduction. This is because it's cheaper for us to work in this way. And we have an easy way to calculate the ROI. Then, threat hunting. Threat hunting is an iterative search. It's a continuous improvement in a tag way in our code. And proactive, way to detect and isolate attacks through the net. The focus point is that process is apply security patch in the fly, avoiding the real attack in real time. This is what we get when we are continuing improvement. And finally, a speed of recovery. Even put all barriers, we must accept that we can be attacked. And we need to have a plan to recover our systems as fast as possible. And DevOps promises a culture of openness and transparency in security terms also. Okay, it's time. What you say sounds good, or possibly, but how do I start? Let's see it. DevSecOps, the really beginning. If you are thinking to start with DevSecOps, we need to focus in 3 factors: people, process, and technology. People, you need to break down the silos between the persons, because everyone is responsible of the security and need to work together. And then these persons working together, implementing security process and using actual technologies, because if we have technologies, let's use it. And now, let's see another video. It's about this, and it's explained by people in an event like this, but talking about security in DevSecOps. It's 2 minutes video, but it's really, really interesting. The sound just started.
DevSecOps, what is it? That's a hard question to answer. It's about shifting security left as far as possible. But more importantly, that making it everyone's problem to solve and everyone's something to be part of everyone's behavior.
The idea of where people are now by embracing that more of a DevOps or DevSecOps model is they're creating more participation from security teams with the people who actually write code and have to deploy code. And I think that's if you take the idea of walk a mile in someone else's shoes, security teams are now being part of that journey, and they're also being part of that conversation.
To me, DevSecOps is an important movement because it's about delivering business value. It's about getting things done. It's about de-siloization.
Rather than a security team sitting from on high mandating thou shalt do this or not do this, and it's much more of an enabler now, or it's at least trying to say the question or change the answer from no, don't do that, to that sounds hard, but here's maybe how we can try to do that in a secure way.
Someone I was just talking to used the term the security ivory tower, where people make proclamations and say, we're going to do this. And if it's not accepted, they say, why aren't you listening to me? When we get towards DevSecOps, we move from why aren't you listening to me to how can we work together? How can we take the development activity, the operational activity, and integrate security so that we actually build security in.
DevSecOps it's difficult to quantify and it's difficult to know when you've got it right. I think a measure of success is when everyone's thinking about security and when you could pick any part of your build pipeline and be able to demonstrate that security is there.
There's always that pressure for developers and for the developing work to actually develop things quickly. Because at the end of the day, we're running business, and everybody's running a business, and everybody has cut-off date in order to get things done. And the security is often overlooked because we need to do things quickly.
So I think DevSecOps is about saying, hey, we need to build products. We better make sure that it's fast and quick and agile, but we've also got to do it really securely so that at least when we're shipping code, like it's secure. People aren't going to get owned left, right, and center.
I think this is where the Internet of Things is going. And this is where the dev world is going, this is where everything is going, saying that security is part of everything. We need to stop saying security for security people, security is for everyone.
Okay. As we can see, technology enables people to execute DevSecOps process. It's more easy than to do all of this manually. In each point of the process, we have a lot of options. For example, I don't know, planning for Jira tool track, coding Bitbucket, for continuous improvement and documentation Confluence, I don't know, for operations Ansible, a lot of them. We have a lot of tools, and we need to use them in a correct step. Okay, let's review what have you been so far. Appearing in the news, it's not always good. Recovering after an attack is not easy. Putting the security in the correct step in the process of delivering software to get the cheaper version of it and the expensive version for the attackers. Focus on people, technology, and process, and start adding security in the DevOps process and improve to the big version with DevSecOps or SecDevOps, whatever. But in any case, it's not a silver bullet. We need to work so hard. Let me show you some examples. For example, know yourself. It's essential to know oneself, to work about the maturity assessment. What is my point? We are and to work on a plan and improve it. About this plan, we need to iterate. In OWASP maturity assessment, we have a series of blocks, and for each of them, a series of subsections that contain several of questions, the result of which give us a score. The weighting of all these little weights give us the level of maturity, a number, an objective number. And we can work around OWASP is one example, one of the most famous, because it's a standard reference. OWASP gives us SAM. SAM is the prime maturity model, and it's methodological agnostic, and give us a number between 1 and 3 in each category, with 3 values, initial, structure, or optimize. For example, the blocks are governance, construction, verification, and operation, and then a subset of questions about, I don't know, implementation review, issue management, a lot of them. For example, we can see a possible results. It's not real, it's just an example. But in this picture, for each category, we can see our score and associate level of maturity that the score have. Of course, we'll start with the lower for a first plan, and the highest will enter the plan for continuous improvement. And from the results, we'll create the roadmaps that will lead us to the improvement. This is a good point and a good option. And in this point, you probably think, okay, but if I need a quick win, what can I do? Top 10 OWASP. If we are in the initial point of automation, we want to start working vulnerabilities. And we do know where to start. This is a good start. OWASP publishes the list of top 10 vulnerabilities from time to time. These are from 2017, and these are some examples like injection, broken authentication, a lot of them. And we have a file of each one to see exactly what to look and how. These are the really first steps, the minimum that we need. In this slide, we can see the example of number 5 that I think it's broken access control, and it has several sections. And each one, you can read the details that we need to know. There are versions of 2010, 2013, and 2017. And a good practice will be to take them, work them, or the best, automate them. Okay, and now talk about this automation. This is the very first step. It's about tools, but it's the first step of automation. It's the same process that we saw before, but in using tools. We have many strategies to work on security. In this slide, we have 2. SAST, static application security testing, and DAST, dynamic application security testing. SAST is used for a scanner the source repository code, usually the master branch, but not the unique. Identify vulnerabilities and performing software, composition analysis. It can be integrated into continuous integration and continuous deployment process. And then DAST. DAST is designed to scan the staging and production website, for example, in running a state, analyze input fields, forms, and numerous aspects of the web application against vulnerabilities. We can see some examples of these products in this part of the slide. Sonary SAST and the last are dust. When we orchestration this, we can see in the slide the software creation and analyze where each one of the tools appears. When the code is created, it enters to the code repository and can be analyzed for the static tools. And this is the first defense filter, and then, just before to go to production or in production too, it's analyzed by dust tools. We have not talked yet, but we must not forget the security of data in the whole process. For example, with database scanner, that will work the same way. Any data error will not only block the release, but also will compromise the whole system, or the whole system is blocked for data. If also have security create as code, is the best option in any case, we can scan any of our servers or database proactively at any time. And it's really important to stay informed, read the news, and analyze the data that the process and the systems give us, because the tools alerting from errors in each step of the process. Your DevSecOps needs to inform the events to the people able to analyze it and solve it. It's really important to solve it. It's better to read an useless notification than get a real attack. And it's time to continuous improvement. It's time to, an apple a day keeps a doctor away. But what is this little apple? What exactly means? What I need to know? For example, these are the minimum KPIs that you need to check. This is the first step, the really, really first step. We need an iterative review procedure and see the evolution of each one. For example, number of vulnerabilities, time to fix, remediation rate, and vulnerability class. This is the minimum steps. But other examples can be specific security coverage code. It's necessary to determine quality gates, like QI, rate defect currency, or, for example, another, it's not like code, but it's important, number of days to deactivate employee credentials. There are so many examples, some of them more critical than others, but each one is important depending on the maturity level and the focus that we need to fix. It's important to mark goals every so often and share this information with all the people. If every person is responsible about security and we give this responsibility to them, it's important that they know the results. The transparency must to be one of our values. And, okay, I am doing things. I'm trying to do my best. How I know if I am doing right? It's a good way if you are doing things, it is important to do something, have security governance, think in automation or work in automation, and have container security. This is really, really important. The container is interesting, but it's really dangerous. Containers deploy is cool, I know, it's important. But you need to think about the security of the content of the container, but the container too. The container needs security. We have some rules. Don't patch, destroy, and recreate. Limit container privilege and create a security coding. And design consistent microservice inside these containers. And definitely don't pry for luck in any case. Don't hold your breath. DevOps has not arrived with the rush of the new year. DevOps is still immature, not in methodology, but yes in implementation. This year, we need to take more action because the attackers do. There are many ways to talk about security. This is the conclusion. And there are trends about whether to talk about development first or security first. And here we ask, what was first? The egg or the chicken? Apple a day before or after getting sick? In non-mature organization, it's best to talk about development first. In mature organization or thinking about a roadmap in the future, security must go first. The first step of security must go first. As we see in the graph, we change the position of security in evolution and in value. We also carry it with the shift left initiative like DevOps. We can see the picture as it moves from after the traditional operations at the beginning of the value chain. It's really important, this. And finally, I want to show one more video. It will change your mind about dedicating yourself to security, because as everyone knows, you will have a life exactly like this.
What I'm about to tell you is top secret. There's a powerful group of people out there that are secretly running the world. I'm talking about the guys no one knows about, the guys that are invisible. The top 1% of the top 1%, the guys that play God without permission. And now I think they're following me. Employee number ER280652. Just a regular cybersecurity engineer, but I'm a vigilante hacker by night.
What if you could set in motion the single biggest incident of wealth redistribution in history?
Their networks are getting attacked.
$13 million. That's exactly how much they lost.
Who did this? One guy. The whole thing comes down.
Oh, hi.
Elliot, just attacked.
I promise you, the text will have exactly that life. And if I still have convinced you, I present to you a new form of business of internet. This is real. It's all, but it's real. Thank you so much.
Questions?
Do you need a coffee? Yes. Thank you for coming. It's so early, and there are a lot of people.